The Museum of the Weird is a kind of a sideshow attraction. It harkens back to the days of the Dime Museum, which is a uniquely American type of museum where you would just have all sorts of strange and odd things. It originated in the cabinets of curiosities back in 1500s, and from there it kind of evolved into these little, what was called a dime museum. And they were called dime museums because it would just cost you a dime and you could spend all day perusing the exhibits that they had. We opened Lucky Lizard Curios and Gifts in the summer of 2005, and we were in business for a few years before we decided to open the Museum of the Weird. We came up with the name Lucky Lizard Curios and Gifts because I have a couple of lizards, an iguana, and a Nile monitor, and I always considered them kind of lucky, so that's where we came up with Lucky Lizard. And this is Simone. She is the lucky lizard. This is the one that actually inspired the name. Part of the birth of the Museum of the Weird was due to, we had the lizards in the back of the store in a big glass case, and people would come in all day off the street and look at the lizards, and they'd leave and then come back a little later with their friends and look at the lizards and leave. And I was thinking, man, if there's a way we could charge admission for this, that would be great. But I also had that, that love of, the unusual and showing off, just weird stuff. And we had plenty of it in the store, and people weren't really buying it, but they were looking at it. They liked to look at all of it. I figured, well, we'll just open a little museum in the back. We had this unused space in the back of our store, and I figured we could just, charge admission, call it the Museum of the Weird. And it's actually taken off. At first, my wife thought I was a little crazy opening this museum, but over time, she's come to see it was a pretty good idea. Some of the more unusual things we have in the museum are, we have some shrunken heads, two-headed animals. We have a three-eyed cow, a two-headed chicken, a cyclops pig, and we have a Fiji mermaid, a genuine Fiji mermaid. The Fiji mermaid actually goes back to P.T. Barnum back in the 1800s, mid-1800s, when he had his American Dime Museum in New York. Supposedly, as the story goes, he found this Fiji mermaid from a fisherman who he bought it from and put it on display in his museum. He would advertise it with banners outside of the museum with these beautiful, voluptuous mermaids, and people would go in thinking they're going to see a half-naked mermaid, and they would see this horrifying-looking mummified creature. P.T. Barnum was, one of the greatest showmen of all time. He knew how to sell, he knew, how to be a showman, and he knew what people wanted, and that was his gift. He would actually hire, these pseudoscientists to implant them in the audience or outside the building, and they'd have like these debates. It's a fake, it's a fraud, and the other scientists will be like, no, it's a real thing. It's it shows evolution, and they were totally frauds. P.T. Barnum would hire these guys to stand outside and cause this controversy so people would want to go in and see it. The sideshows and the dime museums definitely are kind of a disappearing way of life, and that's why we're trying to preserve that, because it is a part of our history. And I'll tell you, while the dime museums and while the sideshows are disappearing or have disappeared, the interest in that stuff is still there. People they're interested, they want to know about the mysterious. They want to know about the unknown, the unexplained. As our society is getting more sophisticated, it's losing something, and that's what I'm trying to preserve is some of that mystery that everyone loves. Part of what I'm trying to do is preserve that weirdness of Austin. In the midst of all these high-rise skyscrapers going up, we're trying to keep it a little weird here.
Become a Docublogger. Log on to Docubloggers.org to share your opinions and story ideas, or get out your camera and create your own Docublog.